So I've been thinking about this, well, basically since the launch of the 40 series back in the day, but also the RTX 50 series now, because it becomes even more so a factor. And I want to talk about performance and why these frame gen things aren't really, they're not as important as Nvidia likes to pretend. And what it amounts to is the experience of playing a game. So I think most people agree like 60 FPS is a good, smooth experience. And if you go higher above that, yes, it can feel better, but it's not a massive change. Whereas if you drop below that, it can quickly feel much worse. So the thing is, what you really want is a graphics card that can do closer to 60 frames per second, but it needs to be real frames per second. So frame gen feels better when it's running at 60 frames per second base frame rate. It looks a little smoother, but it doesn't feel the same as a native 120. And conversely, multi-frame gen, you're going to need like close to 200 frames per second for it to really feel decently responsive and smooth. The difference between frame gen and non-frame gen becomes much more noticeable the more you multiply the frames. So what we really want is a card that gets away from 30 frames per second as its base performance. And that's where frame gen isn't helpful. If you frame gen 30 to 120, it might feel a little better than 30. It might feel like 40, maybe even 45 frames per second, but it absolutely doesn't feel like 120. And that's where the marketing falls apart. So yeah, 5090, pulling 240 frames per second, 300 frames per second, it feels totally fine. 5070, pulling 120 frames per second, not nearly so great. And so if that's the major performance improvement from Blackwell RTX 50 series, it's disappointing. It doesn't feel that good. It doesn't improve the experience as much as we would like. We want to get 60 and above native because that's what feels best. That's my thoughts. Anyway, off on my walk. Have a good one. Bye.